It was said that the abandoned Renshaw Manor on the outskirts of town was cursed. The locals avoided it like the plague, whispering about people who ventured inside and were never seen again. Emily, a thrill-seeking 16-year-old, dismissed it all as nonsense. When her friends dared her to spend a night there, she accepted with a nervous laugh, eager to prove them wrong. The manor was massive and decrepit, its stone walls covered in ivy and its windows shattered like jagged teeth. The front door groaned as Emily pushed it open, and a rush of stale, cold air greeted her. The faint smell of mildew and rot lingered in the air, and the creaking wooden floorboards echoed with every step she took. Armed with a flashlight and her phone, Emily stepped inside. The first few hours passed uneventfully. She explored the grand, dusty hallways and rooms filled with broken furniture, cracked mirrors, and peeling wallpaper. It wasn't until she reached the second floor that she began to feel it. A presence. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up, and the faint sensation of being watched crept over her. She shook it off and continued, pushing open a door to what appeared to be a child's bedroom. The room was eerily well preserved compared to the rest of the house. A small bed sat in the corner, its blankets neatly arranged, and on the opposite side of the room stood a dollhouse, a perfect replica of the manor itself. Emily's flashlight flickered as she approached it, but she ignored it, leaning closer to examine the miniature furniture inside. As she looked at the tiny dining room, something strange caught her eye. Tiny figures sat around the table, crudely carved dolls with hollow eyes that seemed to stare back at her. One of the dolls looked wrong. Its face seemed twisted, and its arms were positioned unnaturally. Emily leaned in closer and froze. The doll was wearing her clothes. She stumbled back, her flashlight flickering wildly. When the lights died, she noticed something horrifying. The doll's head was slowly turning, its hollow eyes locking onto hers. Suddenly, Emily heard it. Faint whispers. They came from the walls, surrounding her on all sides. She couldn't make out the words, but they were growing louder, overlapping and overlapping until they formed a terrible, incomprehensible cacophony. She bolted from the room, slamming the door behind her, but the whispers followed, echoing through the hallways. "Who's there?" she shouted, her voice trembling. The whispers stopped. For a brief, horrible moment, the house was deathly silent. Then a voice, deep and guttural, spoke from the darkness. "We've been waiting for you." Emily's flashlight died. She screamed, fumbling with her phone to turn on its light. But when it came on, she wished she hadn't. The walls were moving, bulging and rippling as though something inside them was trying to break free. Shadowy hands pressed against the wallpaper, leaving dark, damp stains in their wake. Faces began to emerge, distorted and screaming, their mouths open in silent agony. Emily turned and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She raced down the stairs, only to stop dead in her tracks. The front door, which she had left wide open, was now gone. In its place was a solid wall, pulsating like a heartbeat. She spun around and saw them, figures stepping out of the walls, their bodies gaunt and their eyes hollow. They moved toward her slowly, their twisted limbs dragging across the floor. One of them reached out, its fingers impossibly long and sharp, brushing against her arm. A searing pain shot through her, and when she looked down, she saw that her skin was turning pale and brittle, like porcelain. "No, get away!" she screamed, backing into the center of the room. But the figures only smiled, their teeth sharp and glinting. The whispers began again, louder and louder until they were inside her head. Emily dropped to her knees, clutching her ears. But it was no use. The shadows closed in around her, and the last thing she saw before everything went black was the dollhouse in the corner of the room. A new doll had appeared inside it, wearing her terrified expression. The next morning, the manor was silent once again, its walls still and its rooms empty. But if you dared to peek into the child's bedroom, you would see the dollhouse now with a new addition. A tiny porcelain doll with hollow eyes sitting in the exact spot where Emily had fallen.